The arrival of the colony ship landed on the human outpost world, far away from Earth. Dust rose high in the air as the engines went silent. People gathered around the landing zone, waiting to see what the alien council had sent. Soldiers stood ready, hands on their weapons, eyes full of worry. The war between humans and the alien empire had ended only months ago, and the wounds were still fresh. Nobody trusted the aliens, not yet. From the ship, a group of alien guards stepped down. They were tall, cold, and silent. Between them walked a girl. She looked no older than 20 in human years. Her skin carried a faint silver glow under the light, and her eyes were strange, bright like stars. A long chain was locked around her wrists. The alien commander spoke in a heavy voice. "This girl is given as punishment. She belongs to the human man chosen by our agreement. She will serve him until her last day." The crowd gasped. The word slave echoed in their minds. It felt wrong, even after a war full of cruelty. Still, no one dared to argue. Peace was fragile. One wrong move, and the war could start again. The chosen human stepped forward. His name was Daniel, a farmer and a quiet man who had lost family in the war. He never asked for this, but the treaty forced him to accept. When he looked at the girl, he felt no victory, only sadness. She lowered her head, refusing to meet his eyes. Daniel signed the papers. The alien guards pushed the girl toward him. Chains clinked as she walked, each step slow, heavy. Daniel held the end of the chain, but he did not pull it. He did not want her as a slave. Still, everyone was watching. He had no choice. The ship left quickly, leaving silence behind. The colony people whispered. Some pitied Daniel. Others envied him, and many feared what this alien girl might bring. Was she dangerous? Was she a spy? Nobody knew. That night, Daniel brought her to his small farm outside the colony walls. The land was quiet, full of dry soil and endless stars above. He gave her food, but she did not touch it. She sat in the corner, silent, her glowing eyes watching him carefully. Daniel spoke gently. "You are free to eat. I will not hurt you." She did not answer. Hours passed. The wind outside howled across the empty desert. Daniel finally fell, asleep on his chair, but the girl stayed awake. Her lips moved, whispering in a language Daniel did not know. Her voice was soft but sharp, almost like a warning. "They will come for me." Daniel stirred but did not wake. The girl's eyes glowed, brighter in the dark. She pressed her chained hands against her chest as if hiding something deep within. A secret. Morning came. The colony already buzzed with rumors. Some said the alien girl carried a hidden weapon. Some claimed she was a cursed royal daughter. Others believed she was sent only to test human weakness. Daniel ignored the gossip, but in his heart, he felt uneasy. Something about the girl was not right. On the farm, she still refused food. She only drank water and stared at the horizon, silent, as if waiting for something. Daniel noticed strange marks on her skin-thin lines across her back, glowing faintly. They looked like scars, but not human scars. They were symbols. One night, Daniel woke suddenly. The room was cold. He saw her standing by the window, chains shining under moonlight. Her eyes reflected the stars. She spoke again, low and haunting. "They think I am broken. They think I am slave. But they do not know." Daniel felt a chill run through his body. He wanted to ask what she meant, but before he spoke, she turned and whispered, "If they find me here, your people will die too." The words froze him. Was she a threat, or was she warning him? The silence grew heavy. Outside, a distant sound broke the night, a hum in the sky, faint but sharp, like engines moving far above. Daniel rushed out, but saw only stars. When he turned back, the girl was still standing, her eyes glowing, watching him without fear. Daniel realized something at that moment. This was no ordinary slave. This girl carried a secret heavy enough to break the fragile peace between two worlds. And now she was in his house, chained by law, but free in her own strange way. The hook was set. The question burned in Daniel's mind, and in the mind of every watcher. Who was she really? The story had only begun. The unwanted bond. Days passed slowly on Daniel's farm. The alien girl, still in her chains, moved like a shadow in his small home. She spoke very little, and when she did, her voice was soft, almost distant. Like she was not truly there. Daniel tried to treat her kindly. He placed food on the table, fresh water by her side, even gave her a blanket when the desert nights grew cold. But she refused almost everything. She ate only the smallest amount to survive. She never thanked him, never asked for more. She simply existed, watching, waiting. The people of the colony whispered about her every day. Neighbors avoided Daniel, saying he was cursed for accepting the alien slave. Children ran past his farm, pointing and shouting cruel names. Some men joked that Daniel would not last a week before she killed him in his sleep. Daniel ignored them. But deep inside, he wondered if they might be right. One evening, Daniel found her sitting outside, staring at the setting sun. The sky burned red, and the wind carried the smell of dry earth. He sat near her, not too close, not too far. "You don't have to be afraid," Daniel said. His tone was calm, almost gentle. She turned her head slowly. For the first time, her strange star-like eyes met his directly. "Afraid." She repeated, her accent thick, but clear enough. "It is not me who should fear." Daniel felt his chest tighten. Her words were simple, but the meaning was heavy. He wanted to ask more. But she lowered her head again, ending the conversation. That night, Daniel could not sleep. He kept hearing her words. What did she mean? Why did she say he should fear? And fear what? The more he thought, the more uneasy he felt. The next morning, Daniel went to check the barn. To his shock, he found her already there. She had somehow unchained her wrists during the night. She stood by the animals, quiet, stroking a small creature gently. The chains lay broken on the ground. "How did you?" Daniel began, his voice sharp. The girl looked at him, calm, not afraid at all. "Chains are nothing," she said. "They cannot hold me." Daniel froze. He realized she could have run away at any time, but she stayed. "Why?" "You could escape," Daniel said carefully. "Why don't you?" Her glowing eyes softened, almost sad. "Because running is useless. They will find me. And if they find me here, they will destroy everything." The words struck Daniel like a blade. He knew she was hiding something big, something dangerous. But still, he couldn't bring himself to hate her. Instead, a strange sense of pity grew in his heart. She looked less like a slave and more like a prisoner of fate. In the following days, Daniel tried to teach her simple human words. He pointed at objects: water, bread, door. She repeated them slowly. At first, her voice was cold, but as time passed, something changed. She began to look at him differently, not with fear, not with anger, but with curiosity. One evening, Daniel caught her watching him fix a broken fence. He smiled faintly. "You can help if you want." Stepped closer, hesitated, then held one of the wooden posts steady while he worked. It was a small moment, but important. For the first time, she chose to share something with him, even if it was simple labor. That night, when the sky was clear, Daniel saw her outside again. She whispered words in her alien tongue, looking up at the stars. Daniel could not understand. but he felt the sadness in her voice. He asked quietly, "Are you praying?" She looked at him, her eyes glowing in the starlight. "No, I am remembering." "Remembering what?" Daniel asked. Her lips trembled for a moment. Then she answered. "Home." The word carried pain, like a wound that never healed. Daniel said nothing more. He only stood beside her, staring at the stars too. But peace never lasted long. A few days later, Daniel went to the colony for supplies. As he walked through the streets, he heard the whispers again. This time, they were louder, sharper. They say the alien girl carries secret powers. She will bring death to us all. Better kill her now, before it's too late. Daniel clenched his fists. He knew if the colony decided she was dangerous, they would not hesitate to take her away or worse. When he returned home, he found her sitting quietly as always, but there was a strange light in her eyes. It's almost like she knew what he had heard. "They will not stop," she said softly. "Humans or aliens. Both want me gone." Daniel felt anger rise in him, but not at hurt, the world, at the war, at the council that forced this fate on them. "You are here now," he said firmly. "And while you are here, I will protect you." Her eyes widened slightly, as if no one had ever spoken those words to her before. For a brief moment, the chains around her wrists seemed lighter. The silence between them softer. But as the night fell again, Daniel woke to the sound of movement outside. He rushed out, hand on his rifle. In the distance, near the colony walls, he saw shadows human men, watching his farm, and on the wind he heard one of them whisper, "Tomorrow, we take the alien." Daniel's heart raced. The unwanted bond between him and the girl was now a dangerous one. He was no longer only her keeper. He was her shield, and danger was closing in. Strange powers the next morning began in silence, but Daniel could not forget the men he saw near the colony walls. Their voices still echoed in his mind. "Tomorrow, we take the alien." He tried to hide his fear, but the girl noticed. She always noticed. Her glowing eyes studied him like she could read his thoughts. "You did not sleep," she said softly. Daniel forced a smile. "Farmers never sleep much." But she shook her head. "Not true. You fear for me." Her words cut straight to his heart. He wanted to deny it, but he could not. For the first time, Daniel realized he truly did not see her as a slave anymore. She was something else, now something he could not name yet. That afternoon, while working outside, Daniel saw her near the well. She raised her chained hands, and for a moment, the water inside the bucket began to ripple, even though there was no wind. The surface shimmered like liquid light. Daniel froze. The girl quickly dropped her hands, but it was too late. He had seen it. "What was that?" Daniel asked, his voice low. She avoided his eyes. "Nothing." "That was not nothing," he said firmly. "I saw the water move." Her lips tightened. Finally, she whispered, "It is not safe for you to know." Daniel stepped closer. "Then it is already too late. Tell me." She stared at him for a long moment, then sighed. "I carry power. It is inside me since birth. My people call it the starfire. That is why they punished me. That is why they gave me 2 humans." Daniel's chest tightened. He had never heard of such a thing. Punished. For what? Her voice grew colder. For being born different. "My power is rare, feared, and forbidden. My people wanted me gone, but they could not kill me, so they gave me away." To you, the words struck him hard. She was not just a slave. She was a weapon they wanted to hide. Suddenly, Daniel heard barking from the farm dogs. He looked up and saw 3 men from the colony approaching. Their eyes burned with hatred. One carried a knife, another a rope. "We came for the alien." One of them growled, "Move aside, Daniel." Daniel stepped forward, blocking the door. "She is under my care. You will not touch her." The men laughed bitterly. "Your care? She's a monster. She'll kill us all. Better end it now, before it's too late." Daniel raised his rifle. "Leave my land." But the men did not move. They stepped closer, ready to attack. Then, the air shifted. A strange hum filled the ground beneath their feet. The girl stepped out from behind Daniel, hers glowing like burning stars. The rope in the man's hand lifted by itself, twisting like a snake. The knife flew out of another man's grip, spinning high into the air, before falling harmlessly into the dirt. The last man dropped to his knees, clutching his head as if hearing a scream no one else could hear. Daniel stared in shock. He had never seen anything like it. The girl's chains rattled, but she did not move a step. Her voice rang clear, strong, and terrifying. "Leave now, or I will show you the rest." The men scrambled back in terror. They ran without looking behind, stumbling over themselves as they fled into the desert. Silence fell again. The girl's glowing eyes dimmed, and she sank to her knees, weak and trembling. Daniel rushed to her side. "What happened? What did you do?" Her breathing was heavy. "I warned you. Chains cannot hold me, but my power is dangerous. It hurts me as much as them." Daniel wanted to speak, but he had no words. He looked at her, this strange alien girl, punished for something she never chose, carrying power, too great for her small frame. She was not a weapon. She was a person. And yet, the world would never see her that way. That night, Daniel sat by the fire, watching her sleep. The desert wind howled outside, but inside, only silence remained. He thought about the colony. They would not stop. The men would return with more. And when they did, they would not run away so easily. Suddenly, the girl stirred. Her eyes opened, glowing faintly in the dark. "You should give me away," she whispered. "It is safer for you." Daniel shook his head. "No, I cannot." "Why?" she asked. His voice was steady, but his heart pounded. "Because you are not my slave. You are my responsibility." For a moment, she stared at him, shocked. Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to speak, but could not. Finally, she turned away, hiding the faintest flicker of emotion. Later, that night, Daniel woke to a strange sound. He stepped outside and froze. Far in the sky, a dark ship hovered silently above the desert. Its lights blinked like red eyes, scanning the land below. The girl appeared behind him, her voice low but clear. "They are looking for me." Daniel's blood ran cold. "Who, my people?" she whispered. "They know I live." The ship disappeared into the clouds, leaving only silence. But Daniel knew the truth now. The danger was not only from humans. It was from the stars themselves. The bond between man and alien had grown. But so had the storm around them, and the real war had not even started. Secrets revealed the desert night felt colder after the alien ship passed. Daniel could not sleep. He sat by the fire, staring at the glowing embers, his rifle across his knees. Every sound outside made him tense. Every shadow seemed alive. The girl sat near the window, silent as always, but her eyes never left the stars. The glow in them was softer now, almost sad. Daniel finally spoke. "Tell me the truth. Who are you?" She did not answer at first. Her chained hands rested on her lap, fingers tracing the marks on her skin. Then she whispered, "You already know, I am not a simple slave." Daniel nodded slowly. "I know, but I need to hear it." From you, her gaze met his, sharp and unblinking. For the first time, she looked less like a prisoner and more like someone carrying the weight of 1,000 lives. "My name is Soraya," she said. I am daughter of the High Lord of the Valari Empire. My people call me the Starborn." Daniel's breath caught in his throat. The Valari Empire. Their leaders were legends, feared even by human generals. He had fought in the war, seen Valari ships tear through human fleets. And now, the daughter of their leader sat in his home, chained like a slave. "That cannot be true," Daniel muttered, shaking his head. "It is," she said firmly. "They did not give me to you as punishment for war. They gave me to hide me. My father wanted me dead. The council wanted me erased, but killing me would break our own laws. So they gave me away to disappear in silence." Daniel felt his stomach twist. He tried to imagine the politics of alien rulers, but it was too much. "Why would your father want you dead?" Soraya's eyes darkened. "Because of my power, the starfire you saw. It is rare, dangerous, and feared. They call it a curse. To them, I am not a daughter. I am a threat. If the Empire knew I lived, they would rebel against him. If humans knew, they would use me as a weapon. So I was given away." To you, her words sank into Daniel like stones dropped into deep water. He suddenly understood why she whispered. At night, why she feared being found, why the ship in the sky had searched for her. She was not just a runaway. She was the spark that could start another war. "Does anyone else know?" Daniel asked. "No one must know," Soraya said sharply. "If the council learns I survived, they will send assassins. If humans learn, they will chain me in their laboratories. Both sides want me gone." Daniel clenched his fists. "Then why tell me?" Her voice softened. "Because you saw my power. Because you stood between me and your own people. Because—" She hesitated, then looked away. "Because I trust you." The words left Daniel stunned. Trust, from her. Before he could speak again, a loud crash echoed outside. The farm dogs barked wildly. Daniel grabbed his rifle and rushed to the door. Shadows moved near the barn. He raised the weapon, finger ready, but Soraya stepped beside him, eyes glowing faintly. "It is not humans," she whispered. "It is them." The barn doors burst open. Inside, two tall alien figures stood, their armor glowing faintly under the moonlight. They were not soldiers assassins. Their faces were hidden, their weapons sharp and silent. Daniel's heart pounded. He aimed his rifle, but Soraya stepped forward. "They sent hunters," she said coldly. "They came for me." The assassins moved fast, but Soraya lifted her chained hands. Light burst from her skin, a sudden wave of energy that threw the attackers back. The ground shook. The barn roof cracked. Daniel shielded his face from the blinding glow. When the light faded, the assassins were gone, vanished into the desert night. Soraya fell to her knees, weak again. Daniel rushed to her side, lifting her up. "You can't keep doing this. It's killing you." She breathed heavily. "Better me than you." Daniel shook his head. "No, we'll find another way." Her glowing eyes met his, desperate now. "You do not understand. I was never meant to survive. My fate was sealed the moment I was born. But you," she stopped, her voice trembling. "You risked everything for me." "Why?" Daniel stared at her, the answer clear in his heart though. He barely understood it himself. "Because you don't deserve to die. Not like this. Not for something you never chose." For a long moment, they stared at each other in silence. The bond between them, once forced, now grew real. But danger still loomed. The assassins would return, more ships would come. And the humans in the colony whispered of killing her too. Soraya finally spoke, her voice steady again. "If I stay here, you will die. They will burn your farm. they will kill your people. You must let me go." Daniel shook his head firmly. "If you leave, you die. If you stay, maybe we find another way. Together." The firelight flickered between them. For the first time, Soraya allowed herself a faint smile. Small, but real. "You are stubborn," she whispered. "And you are alive," Daniel replied. Outside, the desert wind howled, carrying dust and secrets. Above, the stars burned bright, as if watching the fragile bond between man and alien grow stronger. But Daniel knew the truth. Peace was breaking. The Empire wanted her gone. The humans wanted her gone, and yet, he also knew something else. Something that made him afraid, but also certain. He would never let her go. Not now, not ever. Escape the night after the assassins came, Daniel knew the farm was no longer safe. He had patched the broken barn door, but the sound of the attack still echoed in his mind. If 2 hunters could find them, more would come. And next time, they would not fail. At dawn, Daniel packed what little he could. Food, water, extra clothes, his rifle. He loaded it all into a small transport wagon. Soraya watched him silently, her glowing eyes filled with questions. Finally, she asked, "Where will you go?" "Not here," Daniel replied. "If we stay, the colony will turn against us. And your people will come back. We have to move." Her voice was calm, but there was a flicker of sadness. "Running will not save me." Daniel tightened the straps on the wagon. "Maybe not, but it might give us time." For a long moment, she said nothing. Then she stepped toward the wagon and placed her chained hands on the supplies. "We'll go with you," was the first time she had spoken as if they shared a path. Daniel felt a strange warmth in his chest. The desert stretched wide before them, endless and merciless. They left the farm behind, its quiet walls now nothing more than a memory. The sun beat down, hot and cruel, while dust rose around the wheels of the wagon. By day, they traveled in silence. By night, Daniel built small fires to keep them warm. Soraya often sat apart, gazing at the stars, whispering in her own language. Sometimes Daniel thought she was speaking to the stars themselves. But the desert was not empty. Twice, Daniel spotted colony patrols searching the dunes. Once, he saw the faint shadow of a ship passing overhead, scanning the land. Each time, they hid, waiting in silence until the danger passed. One night, as they camped by a cluster of rocks, Daniel heard voices in the distance. He motioned for Soraya to stay low. Together, they listened. "Spread out," a man's voice said. "She can't be far. The council pays well for her head." Daniel's blood turned cold. These were not patrols. They were bounty hunters, mercenaries who cared nothing for peace. Only money. The hunters' lights swept across the desert. Daniel gripped his rifle tightly, ready to defend, but Soraya touched his arm. Her eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "Do not fight," she whispered. "Too many. Then what?" Daniel asked. She closed her eyes, breathing deeply. The air around them grew colder, sharper. Suddenly, a wave of light shimmered above the dunes. To the hunters, it must have looked like a sandstorm rising. Their voices turned panicked. "Storm, pull back." Within minutes, they were gone. The desert grew silent again. Soraya's glow faded, and she fell weak against the rocks. Daniel caught her, holding her steady. "You'll kill yourself using that power." Her voice was faint but steady. "Better that, than let them find you." Daniel looked at her, his chest heavy. She was not protecting only herself, she was protecting him too. The journey continued. Days blurred into nights. Daniel noticed the change in her. At first, she had been silent, distant. She asked him questions, simple ones, At first, why do humans build farms? Why do children laugh? Then deeper ones. Why do you fight wars? Why do you forgive? Daniel tried his best to answer, though many times he had no good reply. But each question made them closer, each word breaking down the walls between them. One evening, while they rested by a dry riverbed, Daniel saw her smile for the first time. It was small, fragile, but real. She had been watching him fix a broken wheel, and when it finally turned smoothly, she whispered, "You are stubborn, but clever." Daniel laughed quietly. "Ah, I'll take that as a compliment." For a moment, the desert felt less cruel, but peace never lasted. On the seventh night, as they camped near the mountains, the ground shook. A ship descended, its lights piercing the dark. This was no small patrol. It was a warship, its engines rumbling like thunder. Soraya's face paled. "They found me." Daniel grabbed his rifle, though he knew it was useless against such power. "Run," he said quickly. "Head for the cliffs." They sprinted through the rocky terrain, dust exploding under their feet. Beams of light swept across the ground, chasing them. Soldiers poured from the ship, their weapons sharp and deadly. Daniel fired wildly to slow them down, but the soldiers kept coming. One beam of energy struck near his feet, sending him tumbling to the ground. "Daniel," Sarah cried, rushing. "Back for him." She stood over him, her eyes blazing with light. The soldiers raised their weapons, and then it happened. The starfire burst from her body, brighter than anything Daniel had ever seen. The desert lit up like day. A wave of energy exploded outward, knocking the soldiers back, shaking the cliffs, splitting the ground. The warship shuddered, its lights flickering, before retreating into the sky. When the light faded, Soraya collapsed into Daniel's arms. Her body trembled, her breath shallow. "You saved me," Daniel whispered, holding her close. Her lips moved, weak but clear. "No, I saved us." He carried her to shelter among the rocks. As she drifted into sleep, Daniel stared at the stars above. The truth was clear now. She was no longer his burden, no longer his punishment. She was his partner. But the cost of keeping her safe had only begun, because both humans and aliens would not stop until she was gone. Turning Point, the mountain caves gave them shelter, but not safety. Daniel laid Soraya on a bed of dry grass, her body still weak after the burst of starfire. He could feel the heat of her skin, like she carried a burning sun inside her. For 2 days, she barely moved. Daniel stayed at her side, feeding her drops of water, guarding the cave entrance with his rifle. Each sound outside the flap of wings, the crunch of stones, made his heart race. On the third night, Soraya stirred. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faintly in the darkness. "You should have left me," she whispered, her voice weak. Daniel shook his head. "Never?" Her lips trembled, almost forming a smile. "You are foolish." "Maybe," Daniel said softly, "but you are alive. And that is enough." For a moment, she looked at him with something new in her eyes, not just curiosity, not just trust, but something deeper, something fragile. But peace was short. At dawn, Daniel spotted movement outside the caves. A column of human soldiers marched through the valley, armored and armed. At their front was Commander Reeves, a man Daniel knew well from the war. Reeves was cruel, cunning, and he hated aliens more than anyone. Daniel's heart sank. If Reeves found Soraya, he would not hesitate to kill her. The soldiers camped below the cliffs. Daniel knew they would search the caves soon. He turned back. "To Soraya, they're here for you," he said grimly. She sat up slowly, still pale but stronger now. "Then we fight." Daniel shook his head. "You're too weak. And if you use your power again, it might kill you." Her eyes narrowed. "And if I don't, it will kill you." The words cut deep. Daniel realized she was no longer thinking only of herself. She was thinking of him too. That night, the soldiers climbed the cliffs. Daniel held his rifle tight, waiting in the shadows. When the first soldier appeared at the cave mouth, Daniel fired. The man fell. Another came, then another. Gunfire echoed through the stone walls. Sparks lit the dark. Saraya stood behind him, her chains clinking as she raised her hands. Energy shimmered faintly around her, but she did not release it yet. She was waiting. Watching Don Reeves himself entered the cave, his weapon aimed. His cold smile sent a chill through Daniel. "So it's true," Reeves said. "The alien princess lives. Do you know what that means, Daniel? With her head, I can end every treaty. With her corpse, the humans will never fear the Valari again." Daniel stepped in front of Saraya. "You'll have to kill me first." Reeves laughed. "Gladly." He raised his weapon, but before he could fire, Saraya's voice rang out. "Stop." The cave filled with light as her eyes blazed. Reeves froze, his weapon trembling in his hand. The air around him shimmered, heavy like chains of fire. Saraya's voice grew sharper. "You want war? Then kill me. But know this: if I die, your world burns with me." For the first time, Reeves hesitated, his face twisted with fear, but also greed. He wanted power, but he feared it too. Slowly, he lowered his weapon. "This isn't over," he spat. "The council will come. The empire will come. You can't run forever." With a signal, his men retreated. Within minutes, the valley below was empty again. The cave grew silent. Saraya sank to the ground, exhausted. Daniel rushed to her side. "You shouldn't have done that," he said, voice trembling. Her glowing eyes softened. "I did it for you." Daniel felt something break inside him, something he had tried to ignore. She was no longer just a burden. No longer just a stranger forced into his life. She was part of him now. That night, as the fire burned low, Saraya spoke again. "Do you hate me for coming here?" Daniel shook his head. "No, you've changed everything, but not in the way they think." She looked at him, her eyes reflecting the flames. "Then tell me, what am I to you?" Daniel's voice was steady, though his heart raced. "You're not my slave. You're not my enemy. You're mine to protect, mine to stand with. Whatever happens, we face it together." For a long moment, neither spoke. Then, slowly, Saraya reached out, her chained hand brushing against his. It was a small gesture, but it carried more weight than any vow. The bond between them was no longer forced. It was chosen. But outside, the storm was still rising as dawn broke. Daniel spotted something far more terrifying than soldiers or bounty hunters. High above the valley, a massive alien warship hovered, its shadow stretching across the land. Its engines rumbled like thunder, its weapons glowing faint red. Saraya's face went pale. The council, Daniel's grip on his rifle tightened. Then, this is it. The turning point. Saraya turned. To him, her voice trembling but firm. "If they take me, war begins. If they kill me, war begins. There is only one way left." Daniel's chest tightened. "What way?" Her eyes met his, filled with fear and hope, all at once. "We must bind ourselves. Not as slave and master, but as one." Daniel froze, understanding what she meant. Marriage, a vow strong enough to force both sides to see her differently, not as a weapon, not as a curse, but as his. The fire crackled between them. The choice was clear: together or nothing. The ending twist plus satisfaction. The alien warship hung in the sky like a dark moon. Its shadow stretched across the valley, swallowing the light of dawn. Daniel and Saraya stood at the mouth of the cave. their faces lit by the faint red glow of the ship's weapons. Daniel's hands tightened around his rifle, though he knew the weapon was useless against such power. Beside him, Saraya's eyes glowed faintly, but her body was still weak from the last outburst of starfire. "They will land soon," she whispered. "When they do, I will go with them." Daniel turned sharply. "You don't understand," she said. "If I resist, they will burn this world. If I go, maybe they will stop." Daniel shook his head. "If you go, you die. If you die, the war begins anyway. I won't let it happen." For a moment, silence stretched between them. The warship's engines rumbled above like a storm waiting to break. Then Saraya said the words again, firmer this time. "There is only one way. We must bind ourselves. If I am yours, if I belong to your people by vow, they cannot touch me without breaking the law of both worlds." Daniel's breath caught. Marriage, a bond deeper than chains, stronger than treaties. It sounded impossible, yet in her glowing eyes he saw hope. "Will it work?" he asked. Saraya nodded slowly. "It must. Even my father cannot strike down his daughter if she is bound by human law." Daniel looked at her, this alien girl once forced on him as punishment. Now standing as his equal, his partner, maybe something more. He dropped his rifle and held her chained hands. "Then let's do it," he said. "Not as master and slave, as man and woman." For the first time, Saraya smiled fully. It was small, but it carried the weight of stars. The ground shook as the warship descended. A landing craft tore through the clouds, crashing into the valley floor. The air burned with heat as alien soldiers marched out, their armor shining silver, their weapons humming with deadly energy. At their center stood a tall figure in dark robes, the High Lord himself, Saraya's father. Daniel felt the weight of the moment press against him. The leader of an empire had come to kill his own daughter. The High Lord's voice boomed across the valley. "Saraya Valeri, you were erased from our world, yet you still live. You dishonor our bloodline. You bring danger to all. Today, it ends." Saraya stepped forward, chains rattling, but her voice was calm. "No, father. Today, it begins." She turned to Daniel and raised her glowing eyes. Her voice rang out, strong enough for every soldier to hear. "I, Saraya of Valari, choose this human. By bond, by vow, by life itself." Daniel's heart pounded. He took her hand and shouted so all could hear. "And I, Daniel of Earth, choose her. Not as a slave, not as a weapon, as my wife." A ripple of shock spread through the soldiers. Even the High Lord faltered. The law of binding was ancient, older than war itself. To break it meant shattering not only alien honor, but the fragile treaty with humans. The High Lord's face darkened with fury. "This is forbidden." Saraya met his gaze. "It is done." The silence stretched. Daniel's grip on her hand tightened. Every heartbeat felt like a drum of war. Then, slowly, the High Lord lowered his weapon. His voice was cold, but powerless. "Very well. The bond protects you for now. But know this, neither human nor Valari will forgive you. You have made yourself outcast." With a signal, the soldiers retreated. The landing craft lifted back into the sky, joining the warship above. Within minutes, the massive vessel rose into the clouds, vanishing into the horizon. The valley was silent again. Daniel turned to Saraya. "It worked." She nodded, though her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "For now, but peace is fragile. We will never be safe." Daniel smiled faintly. "Then we'll make our own safety. Together." For the first time since her arrival, Saraya let herself breathe freely. She touched her forehead gently against his, a gesture of her people. were meant to break me," she whispered. "But instead, you gave me a new life." Daniel brushed a hand against her glowing cheek. "You were given to me as punishment. But to me, you're no punishment. You're the only gift that matters." They stood there, in the valley where war almost began again, holding each other under the vast desert sky. Above them, the stars shone brighter than ever, as if the universe itself had witnessed their vow. From that day, stories would spread. Humans whispered of the farmer who married an alien princess. Aliens whispered of the starborn who chose love over empire. And somewhere between those whispers, hope was born. For Daniel and Soraya, the war was not over. Danger would always follow them, but they no longer faced it alone. The slave and the master were gone. Only husband and wife remained. And together, they would change the stars.